One of the hardest things in real estate is trying to avoid being scammed. And as somebody that does real estate all the time, as a professional real estate agent, and you might be wanting to buy or sell your own property, well, I'm going to give you some of the things to be heads up on that could totally happen to you. I just got out of a deal, I mean literally like today, where a for sale by owner decided to represent herself, and she signed a contract by a wholesaler, who's actually a wholesaler from out of town, and never deposited the earnest money. But what they did do, talked about this on one of my previous videos, is they recorded it at the clerk of the court. And that was just enough to cloud the title to the point where when they went to list it, and then I brought my buyer, it clouded the title to where we couldn't get title insurance. And the pain of it all is she didn't tell anybody about this contract until the title company found it. So I'm going to walk you through some of the ways to not run into bad problems, or these scammers, the top scammers, scam items that you could run into here in this video. So let's get right to it. If you don't know, quiet title actions, like in that case, can cost thousands of dollars, you know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, and they can take months. And she basically is not going to be able to sell her house until this quiet title action is, you know, fixed, which will cost her almost as much as just hiring a real estate agent to begin with. And you know, these type of things, these scammers prey on. And the first one is shotgunning title. Okay, usually when you're dealing with wholesalers, if those of you that don't know what a wholesaler is, that is when somebody says they're going to give you cash for the property. They're not going to give you cash for the property. They're going to get you under contract. Then they're going to find somebody with the cash, and they're going to sell them the assignable contract. They're going to sell them the paper, and that's how they're going to make their money. These bandit signs you see, cash for keys, that's what it usually is a wholesaler. And they have a million different ways to tie your property up and just waste time on market. One of the ways they'll do this is they'll send you a contract with wide dates. And the one I was telling you about, I made a whole video on it, go check that out. It was a 6-month wide date, and they were able to hold that property just, you know, in lieu of, until they found their buyer. Well, in this case, they ghosted them, and was just basically wanting a hinge fee for the property, saying, yeah, well, give me $2,000, I'll release the contract. And everybody's like, well, it's not a real contract. It was just enough to make the next transaction not happen. There's a few ways to defeat these wholesalers and know they're a wholesaler, not a real cash buyer. Is you say, yeah, sure, I want a contract that's not assignable, and I want to see proof of funds. Some of these really good scam wholesalers, and I'm not saying all wholesalers are bad, some of them are really good people, but there's some of them out there just out there to lock your property up. You want to look for proof of funds, and you want to make sure you know what proof of funds look like a legit bank account, legit letter from a bank, lender, whatever. Make sure you are making the effort to actually call that bank. Make sure they're real. Everything you possibly can before you accept that offer. Because once you go under contract with these guys, that's what we call impregnating the deal. Once you're in the deal with them, it's really hard to get rid of them. And you know, some of these guys will just try to find ways to lien your property. You know, when you don't hire a real estate agent and you're representing yourself, one of the first things these wholesalers will do is they will try to see if there is a real estate agent. Usually, like with me, if they call me, I tell them I'm a real estate agent, they usually just hang up on me because they don't want to deal with a real estate agent. I think the whole wholesaling real estate should be regulated. One, just so people know who they are actually doing a deal with. You have one licensee and another licensee. And when something goes bad, you got somebody to actually track down and blame. When you're dealing with these LLCs out of Wyoming or out of Nevada or some of these anonymity states, you have no idea who you're dealing with. And it'll just cause a world of hurt. Like, you don't even know sometimes if it's a legit LLC. It might take you an hour or two just to Google it enough just to say, hey, this is a real LLC, and this is real proof of funds. And then you find their website, which is usually wound up fake, or if you do find their website and you find out they're legit, it's tough to do all that. And if you're not a professional and you haven't seen this over and over and over again, you can get tricked, waste 3 months of holding a property only to find out they never really intended to buy it. The next one is never, ever, ever allow somebody to preoccupy your house. Even if they say they're waiting on the funds, they've got the proof of funds, they're waiting on a settlement, whatever it is, and they're just trying to get into a house. Listen, I had a friend, was a real estate agent, and she decided to let somebody preoccupy, and they had, I think, $50,000 or $75,000. They were going to deposit it as an earnest money, and they wanted a pre-occupancy while they were waiting, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, they never got the entire wire for the entire $2 million. They just squatted in the house for the next 6 months. And it was like an act of Congress to get them out of there. And this is what they'll do. They'll go from place to place to place to place. And, you know, you wind up having a squatter in your house, and they get underneath tenants' rights, and good luck with that. Some of these states, it can be a real pain to get rid of them. The other ones is like, let's say you're the buyer and you're wanting to do a cash deal. And, you know, this guy's really hot to get rid of this property. He doesn't want to use a title company, or he just wants to transfer it, you know, on the back of his tailgate. Never fall for this. If somebody doesn't want to use a legit title company and wait on title insurance to be done and give you an actual warranty deed, like here in the state of Florida, you know, you want a warranty deed. This is just a recipe for disaster. I saw a deal the other day where this guy wanted to close not on a title company, to close immediately, and the agent wanted, which was also the person doing this deal, wanted his commission before closing. If it smells bad, it usually is bad in real estate. That's why you want to deal with a legit title company that's in your area. Be very wary of doing a deal with a distant buyer at a distant title company that you cannot authenticate. That is just a recipe for disaster. Some of these properties have code enforcement liens on them. That's tough to find until you get these municipal searches. Some of these properties have like some mad IRS liens on top of them. The last thing you want to do is inherit any of these liens and problems. So you got to do your due diligence, and don't think that you're just going to save $2 or $3 grand or $500 and you're pulling one over on people. That's how you lose a lot of money. I've seen people inherit a $100,000 lien and didn't even know about it. Check it out. I'm down here in Navy Point. It's the water. It's a pretty afternoon. That's another one of these scams you'll see is deposit scams. They'll try to, you know, fake being a real estate agent, fake being a landlord. They'll get you to send the money here. They'll have fake leases. This is the reason why real estate professionals were invented. Real estate attorneys, real estate agents, you know, on down the line, is to try to create some type of civility in the market. Look, I have dealt with just about every bad dude in real estate. I've seen them like do some really scoundrel stuff. I've seen real estate contracts written on napkins, and if you don't know these landmines exist, you'll fall for them. And it's better to have somebody out there that is working, even if you just joint venture with another investor to do a deal. It's better to have somebody in your court that has seen some of these things, just so you don't fall for them. If you're a person wanting to sell your own home, you've got to have a course of events. You've got to have a solid contract. You've got to have a good title company. You've got to have good home inspectors. You got to have a network of people that are able to hold your hand through the transaction. And then when something goes bad, you got to know who to call. Especially when it comes to problems on title you didn't even know about. You know, sometimes you'll get something that pops up that you just forgot about, and you got to know how to clear it up. And, you know, having a good title agent, real estate attorney that can sift through these, because quiet title actions, those can take a long time. Or just, you know, hashtag, I'm not an attorney, I'm just a real estate agent. But there's a lot of things out there that are just plain scary. Sometimes people don't even know they don't even have the authority to sell their own house. You know, it was dads, they don't have a power of attorney, they're on title, but they don't have ability to contact the other person. I did one time where one guy was in prison and there was 8 kids, and he said he wasn't signing it. So the whole deal just died because the one guy in prison nobody could get to wouldn't sign it. And there's all these reasons, and meanwhile you've wasted time on market. You've wasted inspection fees, you've wasted underwriting fees, you've wasted all kinds of time just to know you couldn't sell it to begin with. The next biggest one is you know, wiring problems, and I talked about an entire video about that. Just watch that video on never wire money to someplace you have not checked the wiring instructions 5 ways from Sunday. Watch that video. Maybe it'll help you, give you some civility. But there are guys out there that will want you to wire money to, you know, 1,000 miles away to a place you've never even heard of, or you're going to receive money from 1,000,000 miles away that you never even heard of, and the next thing you know, those funds are dangerous. You want that title company to check out those funds, check out who's sending it. You want a third-party intermediary. Don't ever just try to quit claim a deed over and then, you know, send some money. I did a deal not too long ago. I think I've talked about it many times where they did that, and my clients, you know, I was selling the property later and I figured out what they did. My clients basically just, you know, did the property on the kitchen table, wired the money, and wound up never being able to build on that 10 acres. Couldn't get a building permit because the county said you didn't come and ask before you transfer the property, part of the closing process, and you can't build anything on that 10 acres. And really came back to sting them, and it took a lot of legal work to get that fixed. One of the last scams I want to talk about is impregnating the deal and then beating it up. A lot of people will use an as-is contract. Many states have them. So I'm going to give you, you know, $100,000 for that house. I'm going to give you an at the money. I'm going to take that contract. I'm going to string you out for 18 days. And then I'm going to throw a repair request on you. And it's going to say, basically, I want all these things fixed, or you're going to drop the price by 50%. And they know you're going to do that. Or they know at the beginning they're going to do that to you. But you think you're going to get this house. You spend all this time. You think you're going to sell the house, you're the seller. You spend all this time waiting to close, only to find out they had no want to do that. They're just going to throw all these problems in your face, or they're going to say, oh, well, that's truly not 1,300 square feet because it doesn't have an air drop there on a house that was built before there was air conditioning. Or they're going to say, oh, that wasn't permitted, therefore this is a 3-1. So and they'll try to twist your arm with this, and they'll say, oh, well, you didn't disclose something, we're going to sue you. They'll make it sound very scary. They'll make it sound like, you know, that back add-on is unpermitted and they're going to turn you in, or they're going to sell it. Or you're going to sell the property to them for, you know, half of what you originally said. And that's truly a problem. I call them beat down artists. And I shut them down real fast. And, you know, people like to throw the word sue around a lot. And in little deals, it's way harder for somebody to actually sue you than you would think. Especially for these things that you was probably disclosed. Everybody knew the house was old or there was these problems. Well, that's why you need somebody in your court that's done this before, whether it's JVing a deal with another investor, or it's a real estate agent, or it's a real estate attorney, or it's just a family member that's done this before. Just make sure that you walk down these scams, and you know, one of the cool things now is you can Google these scams, and sometimes you can kind of head them off at the front. And the only way I know how to keep people from falling for these scams is to talk about them here and help educate you on these type of things. And I don't want to teach anybody these things. I want to teach you how not to fall for these things. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish with these videos. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below if you've seen something like this. If you've seen any scam like this. That way everybody can learn from each other in the comment section. I'll see you guys later.